Nina's top, pattern number 211, with just a little bit of a twist. Today on Let's Sew. So let's take a look at the pattern pieces. That's going to make this so much fun and so easy. I am using pattern number 211. Whenever I find something great, I always look for the pattern that's closest to it so that I have to make the least amount of changes. So it doesn't mean you have to start with pattern 211. You're just going to have to do more changes. So it's all dependent on what time, money, your interest, pattern changes, all those kind of things. You have to take those all into consideration. But with pattern number 211, it's so close that this is the one I decided to start with. So keep in mind, there's only 4 pattern pieces that I'm going to use, and there's only 4 changes. So that's why I decided to start with 211 Nina's top. So let's go through those pieces and those changes and what they are. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fabric to the absolute best it can be. And this is just a really fun little top. All right, so this is the back. And all I'm doing to the back is I'm shortening it 2 inches. Obviously, that's style. If you decide you want a little bit longer top, you don't have to shorten it. But I'm shortening mine 2 inches on the back. The sleeve, I'm doing nothing to. The collar piece here, I'm going to cut it 1 inch wider. On Nina's top, it's actually folded in half. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to cut it 1 inch wider and leave it because both sides of this fabric are so incredible that I'm going to go ahead and leave it 1 inch wider. You know, I'm not going to do that. I just changed my mind. I'm going to go ahead and cut it twice as wide plus the extra inch so that my collar will actually be double. I think it'll give it a little bit better drape and a little bit better stability. So I'm actually going to cut this two widths plus another inch. So it'd be plus 2 inches. And then this goes back on the fold, but I don't make any length changes on that. That's exactly as it is. Now this is the front piece, and this is really where all the action's going on. I'm going to extend this out. When you look at this piece, this is the neck edge. I'm going to extend this out 4 inches on the right side and 4 inches less on the left side. And when I do that, again, remember I shortened this 2 inches because I shortened the back 2 inches, so you still want to shorten this 2 inches. I'm going to bring this straight across, and I'll show it to you as I lay it on the fabric because this fabric's got such an amazing selvage that I'm going to use that selvage to my advantage, and it's going to be my finish. And I'm going to do that all the way, like everywhere I can. I'll show you that kind of as I'm cutting out. So I'm going to go add the 4 inches, go straight down to the selvage and come straight over to the bottom. And because this has stripes, it's really going to help me. You might think about making a pattern, but the reason I'm not going to is because the fabric is going to do all the work for me because it's got stripes and it's, you know, it's the exact that I need to be. So I'll show you that as I'm cutting out. So let's start cutting out. Very simple to do. Now, again, because the selvages on this fabric are so incredible, I want to use them. And because the stretch is allowing that stripe to go up and down. So what I've done is I've cut off 2 yards of fabric. And the very first thing I'm going to cut out, and that is, again, using my beautiful selvage, because my selvage is going to be at the bottom. So there's not going to be any hemming on this. And I'm going to fold it wide enough to where I can get the sleeve and the back. I'm not going to worry about the rest of it right now. I've got enough fabric. So the back piece can go there. When I fold this, I want to make sure that that stripe is going straight up the back so that my, the whole garment's not kind of cattywampus. So just fold enough. I'm going to kind of weigh this down to get the back and the selvage is at the bottom. The back's on the fold, and I've got 2 sleeves. And I want, on both of those, I want the stripes to be going up and down. So that's all I need. I'm going to cut these 2 pieces out and put them aside. All right, so now I'm ready to cut the front piece, and I'm going to cut the left front first. I'm going to say that backwards. I'm going to cut the right front first. The right front is the piece that's extended beyond, and it's the piece that hangs down, and I'm going to add 4 inches to the front of this piece. So here's what I was saying. If I put this piece at the bottom, this is the hem, and what I'm going to do in this particular case is I'll cut off a little piece of selvage and I'll add it so that that small piece has the trim, and then the trim will go ahead and go all the way up. Actually, it's not that small piece. I take that back. It comes all the way over here. But I don't think I'm really going to need it, and you'll see why, because I'm kind of playing with this fabric, and at the end we'll kind of sum it all up. The reason being is because this portion, if you remember, the right front is the part that hangs down. So this actually becomes the edge. This portion won't even show. So depending on what it looks like, if it looks bad, we'll add the selvage. If it doesn't, we won't worry about it. All right, so 4 inches here is what I want extra. So I'm going to just make sure I add the 4 inches. I'm taking off 4 inches on the left, but I'm adding it to the right. This is the right side. So I'm coming straight down and straight across. I'm going to put this on the edge. Make sure that's my 4. So you can see that that's why I said the fabric is kind of doing it for me. I don't really need to make the pattern because it's straight here and it's straight here. So all I need to do is cut. And you'll have to cut single layer because the right side and the left side are different from one another. Now then for the left side, I want the selvage at the bottom again because that is going to be buttoned underneath. That's kind of what does all my covering. So I'm going to change it here. And again, I want my stripe to be vertical. I'm going to take off my 4 inches. And this is going to come down to my selvage. So it's really easy to make the changes. Like I said, you don't really have to draw the pattern. I'm going to let my fabric do all the work. And working with the stripe fabric is really going to make this effective because my stripes are going different angles. Okay, so that's got 4 inches coming off. This is at the bottom. And again, this edge doesn't even need to be cut because that's going to stay like it is underneath. Whoops, I've got to go the other way. Sorry. It's got to be the right. So I've got to cut it this way. So it doesn't matter. That edge is still going to be straight. And I didn't cut it far enough to wreck anything. Yeah, it's coming down straight. I did. Shoot. All right, we'll have to go over here and use that for the collar. We've got enough, so it's okay. Your 2 yards will be enough. But you've got to flip your pattern. It's good I made that mistake, so you guys will learn. Your pattern's got to, this has got to be the left side, so it's got to be face down if your pattern writing is up. All right, so then again, this is 4 inches less. I'm just going to turn that back so I can kind of see where I'm going to, this comes straight down to the bottom. All right, so that's good I made that mistake so you all can see. And again, you got plenty of fabric, so it's all good. I'll use that section over there for the band. Okay, that piece is cut. So I've got one piece left, and that's the band. And because I'm going to, that it's really not going to be an active part of the stripe or anything. It doesn't really matter how I cut it. I think what I'm going to do is cut it with, along with the selvage. We're going to see if it can work with the selvage. If it can, why not? So I'm going to fold that this way. The stretch, the direction of the stretch. It does not matter at all the direction of the stretch. So to use those selvages, and to use selvages on both ends, I would really have to put a fold or a seam back here. And I don't really need it, so I'm not going to. I'm going to put this on the fold here. But remember, I am going to cut it wider. So I'm going to take one width, two widths. I wanted it 2 inches wider, an inch wider, so I'm going to add my 2 inches here. And again, the beautiful thing about this fabric is you've got stripes to cut by. If you didn't, I might suggest you make a pattern, but this is easy enough that it's got my lines to follow. So I'm not doing any changes to the collar. The only difference is that the center back's not going to be at center back because I've taken 4 inches off one side and added 4 inches to the other side. But it's just a straight, long piece of fabric, so it doesn't make any difference. So this is actually what my collar is going to look like, and then it'll be folded in half. All right, the original one I saw was actually single layer, but I like the idea of having the stability of having the double layer. So I made mine a little bit wider. And then, of course, the double layer. Okay, so let's go over sewing, just because when we get up to the sewing room, we just sew. We're going to do everything the exact same. The only thing, just like the guide sheet, we'll sew the French darts, we'll sew the shoulder seams, we'll put the collar on, we'll put the sleeves in and do the side seams. Very easy to sew this. The only thing I may change is I may add some selvage to the bottom if I feel like I like it on that front piece. And then the other thing is the left side has to be buttoned to the right shoulder. So there'll have to be a little loop placed at the top of the left side and then a button on the inside of the right shoulder so that that left side can come up and button and hold it secure while the right side does its little fun. All right, so let's go sew. That's it. It's so easy. So here we are, all done. Oh my gosh, it's better than I thought it would be. I have to go to a luncheon tomorrow, and this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. So let me just show you all the little changes I did. Not changes, it's exactly what I did at the table. But on the end of this collar, I did add the fringe. And I just literally put it on and stitched it on. I mean, it was just really, really easy. So with this kind of fabric that has a loose weave to it and has a lot of depth to it, you can really get away with that. But going back to cutting the collar out, if I would have left one end on a selvage with it, then I wouldn't have had to add it on. So just when you're cutting it out, I was kind of debating whether to go back and forth one end is. The other end, it doesn't matter because you can see it's tucked up and away. So then it's the right side that hangs down. And you can see, just because normally it would go like this, you know, in the pattern, but it doesn't. Anyway, I love it. So this side just hangs down. You can make it obviously any length you want. There's a little tie on the inside here. It's not a tie, it's actually a loop. I used a little bit of just bias tape. You can use anything to make that loop. Even elastic, I thought when I was doing it, elastic, a little thin piece of elastic would be good because it would stretch over the button. I did the button in silver so you could see it. So you could do any button, obviously, but make it big enough that it will hold it. And it's going to hang on there, so you don't have to worry that the loop is too big. It's going to be easy enough to hang on there. So what's under here will not show. Just what's under there goes like that. And I just love it. Again, the selvage, I love the raw edges down at the bottom. It's quick, it's easy, it's fun. It wasn't, you guys saw me sew it, it was really easy to do. So a little bit of twist of Nina's top and it makes a great little wrap. Happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns.